In today's Keller at Large, WBZ analyst John Keller continues his profiles of the candidates.
Good morning. Thanks very much for joining us. Party caucus season is right around the corner, and for Massachusetts Democrats, there's a crowded field of candidates for governor to consider. Over the past few months, we've interviewed 4 of the 5 announced, reasonably well-funded and organized candidates for the Democratic nomination for governor: Don Berwick, Martha Coakley, Steve Grossman, and Juliet Kayyem. Today, we complete the cycle with pharmaceutical research company executive Joe Avellone of Wellesley, a former naval officer and Wellesley selectman, now seeking that nomination. Mr. Avellone, welcome.
Thank you, John. It's a pleasure to be here.
Good to have you here. Thanks for coming by. I was on your website, watched your video, and checked out some of your issue positions. And what I see are calls for more funding for transportation, for education and public safety, and other core issues. Now, when it comes to transportation and education, last year, Governor Patrick wanted $2 billion in new revenues. The legislature came up with barely a quarter of that. Who got it right?
I think the legislature got it more right. I disagreed with the broad-based tax that Governor Patrick proposed a year ago. I've been all over the state and have been in many of our older urban areas where there still are 10% plus unemployment. It's a huge issue. Our recovery is really incomplete, and I thought a broad-based tax at that time would really harm our economy and not allow the recovery to continue on, and we still have a ways to go. So I did agree with the idea of a dedicated revenue source for infrastructure, and I thought the gas tax proposal, which did pass in the end, was the right thing. I also did not agree with the software tax. I was the first candidate that came out as soon as it was proposed in August with a press release against it. I thought this was an unpredictable tax at an industry that we need to nurture in our state.
Okay, well, as I say, from reading up on the positions you're taking, sounds like you'll be looking for more revenue to finance these spending priorities. Where will you get the money?
Well, I'm actually not going to raise taxes. I'm going to control our health care costs.
Okay.
Health care costs are now 40% of the state budget, and they are the highest health care costs in the world. This is, we've gotten so used to these massive numbers that we don't believe that we can control them, but we can. So controlling health care costs is definitely something that the next governor will have to do for the whole Commonwealth. But it'll create a lot of room in the budget to invest in things like education and infrastructure and workforce development that really are going to help us build our economy.
Well, we've been hearing lots of brave talk about controlling health care costs from Beacon Hill for a couple of years now. What will you do as governor differently that'll really deliver on that promise?
Well, I'm the only candidate that's actually controlled health care costs in Massachusetts. When I was the chief operating officer of Blue Cross and Blue Shield back in the 90s, we formed HMO Blue, and we controlled health care costs in the 1990s. I've done it. I'm the only candidate that's really done it and created thousands of jobs.
How'd you do it?
And I know that I can do it. What we need to do is to move away from uncoordinated care. We've all experienced our loved ones perhaps going to doctors who then get referred to Dr. B and on to Dr. C. The tests get repeated. The tests don't often follow. Maybe Dr. C didn't really even hear what Dr. A had to say. That's enormously wasteful. Our own Health Policy Commission just noted that there may be as much as $29 billion in wasted care, care that doesn't improve outcomes of our patients, going on in our Commonwealth a year. Even a fraction of that at the state government would save a tremendous amount of money. Think of this. We have 40% of the budget, $140 million. If it was 39% of the budget, that's about $150 million that could be invested in education and other things.
All right, we're going to take a short break. Let's stay on this topic when we resume our conversation in a moment with Democratic candidate for governor Joe Avellone. Please stay with us. Welcome back. We're talking with Democratic candidate for governor Joe Avellone, and we were talking before the break about controlling health care costs. Charlie Baker, who's running for the Republican nomination for governor, came out the other day and said that if he had been governor during this time, he would be seeking a waiver from the federal health care reform, Obamacare, if you'll pardon the expression, because he claimed it's wreaking havoc with the success we had already achieved here, and we need time to, you know, let them shake out the bugs, if you will, to see what it's doing to our website and so forth. Do you agree with him?
I probably don't agree with Charlie Baker on very much, even about health care, but in this case, I think he's right. We have universal health care in our state. We've had it for 7 years. It's a great success story. 97% of our citizens are now insured. That's what the Affordable Care Act so-called Obamacare is trying to accomplish. To take those new insurance rules and put it on top of the system that we've already got here would be confusing, and it wouldn't get us any further along than we have, where we are now. So I would propose a permanent exemption as well, and would push hard as governor for that. We don't need to put new insurance rules on top of our system. We have everybody insured. What we need to do is to make our health care affordable going forward, and that has to do with changing how we deliver care, moving towards these coordinated care systems with doctors so they operate in teams, and moving away from fee-for-service care, which pays for every procedure as opposed to better outcomes for our patients. Those two things will give us affordable health care.
One of your competitors for the nomination, Don Berwick, wants a single-payer system. Do you?
I don't favor a single-payer system. We have a universal health care system that works in Massachusetts right now. We have everybody insured. Whether it was single-payer or multi-payer, we have to do the same thing going forward. We have to move towards coordinated care systems and move our reimbursement away from fee-for-service. Even our public payer systems have had price increases, dramatic price increases over the last 20 years. So whatever insurance mechanism we have to get to how the care is delivered. That's the important thing. That's what the next governor has to do. I've done that in Massachusetts. I'm the only candidate that's done that in Massachusetts.
We're running short on time here, but I did want to slip in one other issue. The U.S. and state Supreme Courts have ruled that juveniles can't be sentenced to life without parole, that it's unconstitutional. Well, just the other day, a bipartisan group of legislators responded by proposing a law that would require juveniles convicted of first-degree murder to serve a minimum of 35 years before they're eligible for parole. Agree or disagree?
Well, it's a tragic circumstance when a young person murders someone. I mean, it's hard to even imagine how you would feel if you were related to the victim. I do think that because they are juveniles, what the Supreme Court did is probably appropriate, and some fashioning of something that still requires an awful long period in jail, but allows for some possibility for a completely reformed and now much more mature person is probably the way to go.
So do I hear you saying you're not sure about a mandatory minimum in that case, 35 years?
I would need to study the details, but I think the idea of having the possibility of parole in some fashion, yet to be determined from my perspective, is the way to go.
Well, our time is way too brief. We'll look forward to talking with you much more as this campaign wears on. Good luck in the caucuses and at the party convention this spring.
Thank you very much, John.
Thank you. Joe Avellone, Democratic candidate for governor. That's it for me. Now, back to my colleagues for more WBZ News.